What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're talking about If, or maybe as you know it, Imaginary Friends. Depending on what kind of marketing campaign you got, I got If. But once I told somebody that I saw If, they were like, "What's that?" And they were like, "Oh, Imaginary Friends." And I was like, "I just thought it was called If." So I'm going to keep calling it that, but you can call it whatever you want. Um, this is the third imaginary friend movie I've seen this year. On Paramount Plus now with audio description. And I was really upset actually about this, but I do want to introduce myself to my blind viewers since I'm a blind film critic and say, I've always got my beard, I've always got my lip piercing, I've got my sunglasses on, I have a backwards purple baseball cap, and I'm wearing a Marvel shirt. So it's got a bunch of Marvel heroes on it for anybody looking for context. And If. So this is the film that John Krasinski did instead of doing another Quiet Place film. He abandoned it and they found a new director for Quiet Place Day One, which seems to have worked out better for the director of Quiet Place Day One based on the box office for that versus the box office of If. Looks like Quiet Place Day One is going to win that race, which is actually kind of shocking because this has a really good cast. Kaylee Fleming leads, and I'm a big fan of hers. She was great on The Walking Dead for many years as Judith. They gave her a lot of really heavy material, so I knew she'd be fine here with this heavy material. She's got a lot of heavy material she has to work with here, but if you're going to give something to a girl who needs heavy material, it's just basically like a hybrid Dakota Fanning at this point. Like she can do horror and or drama with sadness in it, like she's ready to be traumatized. Um, and it has Ryan Reynolds, Steve Carell, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Fiona Shaw, Louis Gossett Jr., and of course John Krasinski is in it. Among other people, there's like obviously there's like more people to the cast, but that's enough. Um, and it, like I said, it has audio description on Paramount Plus, and normally Paramount Plus is one of those services that I can't get it to turn off the autoplay feature. So it automatically wants to put me into something else. Like it doesn't let me watch credits. It's like, no. And I always think that's hilarious because I think back in the day, I remember watching things on cable and like, my God, they were contractually obligated to run those credits. And they ran them even if they were about to run something else, they had to put it up in the corner and then like run it at like an increased speed, but they had to run the credits. They had no other option but to run the credits. Like it was like illegal back in those days. There was a time where it was unheard of to not run the credits, but you might see 8 minutes of credits in 30 seconds, like to where it's sort of like, yeah, we'll air it at the speed at which we air it. I remember when they did the before it went to theaters, um, Cartoon Network and Adult Swim let people know that they were going to run the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie on Adult Swim ahead of its release. They were going to premiere it on TV, and what they did is they premiered it in this. Uh, it wasn't even in like the full screen. It was like up in a little corner of the screen. Basically, they did that to the whole movie of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. So, um, so you couldn't really see it. Even if you had a large TV, it would have been really hard for you to see anything. And they didn't really run the sound because again, it was like moving faster than it should, and that was their way of doing the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie, and it was really funny. But this is about a little girl whose dad is sick and in the hospital, and he literally is wearing like a broken heart t-shirt. John Krasinski's character is like goofy in this for some reason. He doesn't take it seriously. He's, he doesn't want to make it too heavy for his daughter, so he's very sort of lightweight. And it's because that his daughter B, played by Kaylee Fleming, has already lost his mother. We sort of see in like a little bit of an opening sequence with some backstory that, um, you know, she used to have a mother and the mother got sick and passed. And she used to tell her mother stories and she didn't understand why her mother wanted her to tell stories. And then now she kind of understands. And so in the meantime, while her dad is sick and recuperating in the hospital from an really sort of like untold thing, although it does seem heart related because he points to his heart a lot. She is staying with her grandmother, who she hasn't seen in a few years since she was much younger, played by Fiona Shaw, and an older lady who dreamt once of being a dancer, which will come into play at some point in the movie. But she's fine. I mean, like, normally these movies send them off to be like with relatives who are like mean and scary. That didn't happen here. So thank you for avoiding a trope. However, Fiona Shaw is terrible at paying attention to her granddaughter because Kaylee Fleming is like never at home and she's like always out running around because she discovers one day she sees something that she can't believe she's seeing, and it's this like large insect. I don't want to say giant, but I guess it would be, for an insect it would be giant. So she sees this like giant sort of insect thing running in, and the insect realizes that she can see it, and so she chases after it, and it runs up the stairs and runs into this apartment, and she finds, and Ryan Reynolds is in there, and he tells her to go away, and basically what she discovers is that Ryan Reynolds is like the only human looking one in this room, from what I remember, from what I got from the audio description anyway. There are multiple ifs. If stands for imaginary friend. It's just, they call themselves ifs because it's quicker. It's like slang. It's the street. It's what the kids are saying on the street. You know, yeah. You got your if with you? You know, give me your if. Give me all you got. Give me your if. I don't know. So these imaginary friends are forgotten because, my God, this is like the plot of every imaginary friend movie ever. This is like the plight of Bing Bong. This is the plight of, in Netflix, is The Imaginary. The kids worried about being forgotten and like disappearing. And this is the exact same thing in here. They talk about like, if when they stop remembering us, we just disappear. You know, so they're worried about disappearing for some reason because Ryan Reynolds can see them. They're okay, is what we are led to believe, is what's keeping them and grounding them there. So B just sort of goes on a journey following Ryan Reynolds along, and Ryan has been trying to sort of reintroduce ifs to new kids. But new kids, they're not their imaginary friends, so they're not really seeing them, because that's not really how that works. So she gets this idea of, well, maybe we need to introduce these ifs to their old friends, and then rekindle the magic that caused them to want to see the if. So it's finding like adults and old people and finding those magic moments and getting them to be reattached again to their if. So she runs these people all around, and when they get connected again, they glow, and there are some like sort of like moments where it's like, oh, maybe it's not going to happen, you know, or it's just, oh, it happened a little bit, or there's like a hint of it happening. Like it builds to stuff, and it's kind of cute. It's got a lot of like running around town and Kaylee Fleming. It's a weird message. I will say that like by the end of the film, you'll understand more of it. Like it makes more sense, and I don't want to like spoil the whole movie. But yeah, so things that you'll question while they're happening, you'll be like, what is this? What is going on? Will start to make more sense by the time the movie ends. You'll be like, oh, that's what you were doing. Okay. It's one of those movies. Not that they're like, I don't know that there's like major revelations here, but I will say that when you have questions, some of them might be answered by the end of the film, and you're like, how are they doing this? What is happening here? You know, like, why? They start answering some of those questions. So, for a while there, it gets really weird because you're like, does her grandmother not know that she's like, where is she? Like, she don't care. She's not paying attention. Like, there's just this girl wandering around. To be fair, I think like Kaylee Fleming's like 15. She has to be because I know how long she was on The Walking Dead. So, and when she started on The Walking Dead, so she's got to be like 15 or 16 or something like that by now. So this is not a little girl. She may look like a little girl, but she's definitely not a little girl. When she took over the role of Judith in season 9, 8, 9, something like that, Judith was 10, and generally actresses are always older than the role they play. So if you want to give her the benefit of the doubt there, and even say she was like 11 or 12, that's been a few years because The Walking Dead's been off the air already for a few years. And yeah, she'd be like at least 16, I would say, by now. She could be even like 18, 19 and just look really young. Like the Millie Bobby Brown thing. Millie Bobby Brown is still playing 11, but she's, you know, aged out of that age range. Hopefully they're in college. And by the time we get to Stranger Things season 5 and that thing actually drops, these kids should all be in college. So it's cute. If you're coming here for Steve Carell, he's just doing voice work. I would not say Steve Carell fans unite. Phoebe Waller-Bridge also same thing. She's just kind of she's playing an if. If you're looking for actual like sort of who's playing who, Ryan Reynolds is actually playing a human character. So he's second billing to Kaylee. I mean, like technically he's the star, right? So he's the Hollywood star, but it's her film. I mean, it's the little girl's film, so he technically is second billing. But I know that the star of the film they would bill as Ryan Reynolds because nobody knows who Kaylee Fleming is. It's cute. It's fine. It's inconsequential. I didn't feel like it landed everything that it wanted to, and oddly enough, I wasn't a big fan of John Krasinski here, and I thought he really underwrote his character and wrote it in such a weird way where I was just like, what is up with your character, dude? You know, I mean, like the interpretations, and then we get to sort of like the end of the story, and it's, you know, this girl who starts off by telling us that she's like, no, my mother likes me to tell stories, and I found out why she always liked me to tell stories, and I was like, is this all just a story? Is none of this exist? Like, it's so, because there's parts of it that just don't make sense, and you're just like, this just, and part of it is John Krasinski. Like, I just can't imagine that he literally, we get so little contact with him, and like his first scene with his daughter is like he's lying in a hospital bed and he's wearing an actual shirt that has like a broken heart on it, and he's like, I'm fine, I'm just, you know, broken heart right here. See, it says it on the shirt. I was confused at first. I was like, did his wife just die and he's like, he needs some time? Or is he need heart surgery? He's also in the hospital for a little while. Now you find out that he's in a hospital also because she visits another boy who's in the hospital who falls a lot, and he's got like multiple broken bones. So he's like stuck in bed. He's got like a broken leg and arm, and also his butt's broken. And he's like really excited when he sees Kaylee Fleming. He's like, oh my God, another kid, please. Can we play anything? Checkers, you know, I'll play anything. Just please come in. You know? So that kid was kind of a cute thing. And I knew immediately, I was like, Okay, so this is a movie about imaginary friends, and there's a kid that's alone and nerdy and has no friends and keeps breaking bones. If this kid doesn't end up with an imaginary friend by the end of the movie, I would be shocked. Like, I would be shocked if the lonely kid who has nobody to talk to in this room by himself doesn't create an imaginary friend or get one. I, you know, but yeah, it's fine. Like I said, there are a bunch of imaginary friends. I kind of felt like I knew what most of them looked like. I got like a decent, you know, Steve Carell probably gets the most screen time, so you get the biggest idea of him. Um, the cutest moment that I had was, and I didn't quite, because we know he's big, like, and I mean big and big for what he is, and then also like big, like portly big, I guess. Whatever, however you want to put that. Um, and he sees his adult version of himself, who is also listed as sort of like an overweight man, and he's like, and he gets really excited. He's like, "Oh man, he looks so good. He's in such good shape. He's you know, like he like because like I guess in relativity, like the like Steve Carell's if is is so big that um that this guy seems, who is referred to as being like an overweight guy, seems skinny to him, and I was like, that's a cute joke. He's so excited to see it. He's like, man, he's been really keeping good shape. It's either that or he thinks because he's a chubby if himself that other people are supposed to be chubby, so he's like excited for that. He's like, oh, thank God he started eating food and now he's like me, like um things like that are cute. There's some stuff here that works, and Kaylee Fleming has screen presence, and like I said, she has the ability to handle all of these weird shit things that they keep throwing at her. Like, she is better in the scenes with John Krasinski than John Krasinski is in the scenes with her. She seems to exude more charisma with her father than he does back with her. He doesn't seem to be putting in the effort at all. I don't know what's up. I feel like there's a story, and I would love to interview John Krasinski, but I feel like there's a story here where there was an actor that was supposed to play the role of John Krasinski's in, and that actor backed out shortly before filming, and John was like, I'll do it. You know? Sort of like, if anybody knows the My Blue Heaven story, how that it's a 90s film about the mob. There's like a guy who was like a former mafia man who was put into witness protection, and it's sort of a forgotten 90s comedy, but originally the cast was Arnold Schwarzenegger and Steve Martin, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was playing the former mob guy who was in witness protection, and Steve Martin was supposed to play the FBI agent who kept him in on track. And so what happened was Arnold got offered Kindergarten Cop and decided he'd rather do that. So he left My Blue Heaven for Kindergarten Cop, which you may think is not a great movie, but which movie have you heard of more? And then ask yourself, which, exactly. So Steve Martin actually he took Arnold's role, and then they recast Steve Martin's role. So Steve Martin ended up becoming the mafia role instead, which is weird. Because you would never think that Arnold Schwarzenegger and Steve Martin are in the same role. So I'm thinking that like John Krasinski's role was supposed to be somebody else, because he doesn't have any chemistry with Kaylee Fleming at all. He doesn't feel like her dad. He doesn't feel like he's supposed to be on screen. Like, I love John Krasinski. This is easily his worst performance as an actor. As a director, it's fine. Like, as a director, I don't have a problem. But as an actor, it feels like he, like, is either, like, half improvising his lines. He's very uncomfortable in this. Like, every scene he's in is just very weird. It's like, what is this? What is your character? What are you doing? What? And even the way he's cut and edited his character is weird and it's bizarre. And the couple fleeting moments we get with him are just so, they're the worst parts of the movie. Honestly, I would have much preferred him just check out at the beginning of the movie and then be like, well, he has to go away for a while, and you'll see him in 3 months. Spend 3 months with your grandma. The movie. And then at the end of the movie, John Krasinski comes back and he's like, I'm better. Well, let's go. Like, just do that. Every time we checked in with him, I was just like, I love John Krasinski. I go like down pretty much any road with him. I thought he was excellent as Jack Ryan. He's excellent in A Quiet Place. He's very underrated as Jim in The Office because he's like the straight man. So, I mean, like, I think this guy has an excellent amount of talent attached to him. But this role is easily his worst performance. He's so awkward. It detracted me so much from the film. Every time I was there with him, I felt uncomfortable. He made me uncomfortable in this film. He felt like he was not real or there, or um he felt like the if. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it felt like the whole world around him was real, but like she was imagining that she still had a father and was going to the hospital to visit him. And I thought that's what the movie was about. And it's not. That's how poorly acted slash edited directed this was on John Krasinski's part with his role. Like he couldn't see it in himself. And I think that's the one thing about actors, directors, is that sometimes either you're going to be overly critical of your performance or under critical of your performance. I don't think John Krasinski actually realizes how bad he is in this film, because I actually imagine an entirely different film. I'm trying not to give away the actual what the film is. So if you start interpreting it, I'm sorry. If I ruin that film for you, that's not what it is. He's not an imaginary dad. But I kind of actually thought that's what was going on because he's so awkward in this film. And it's not that he's grieving. This is not like a serious performance from him where he's like staring out the window and he won't talk to his daughter. I would have much preferred that performance of John Krasinski giving like a really like heavy dramatic role where he just misses his wife and he just doesn't have the space, like a mental hospital type of thing, like where he's checked himself in because his wife died and he's just not in the space where he can care for his daughter and he has to learn how to be again. That would have been a much bolder choice. Instead, I think he's like literally here for a heart surgery, but he's there forever. It's such a weird movie. He's such a weird character, and I just don't get it. Anyway, um, there's enough here though. I think people will like it. I think kids will like it because they'll like the ifs. But yeah, um, it's weird. I don't. Other than the fact that John does not have an ability to recognize that he is not good in his own movie, which I can kind of understand because to be that reflective of yourself, to be able to look at yourself on screen must be really hard. And then you ask other people, and then it's like, who do you trust? Like, because he probably has a lot of people around him who are going to be like, yeah, you're really good, man. Yeah, it's great. Totally, totally looks great because he's in charge. So he has to find somebody who is going to be like, man, dude, I don't know. I've seen like all of your work. This is rough, man. I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what you're trying to pull off, but it's not happening. Reshoot the scenes, maybe. Recast. Edit yourself down so you're in less scenes. I don't know what to do, but one of those had to be the answer. Because he, more than any other specific thing in the film, brought the movie down for his own movie down. Not as a director, although this is sort of director related in a weird way. Um, yeah, it's fine. It's cute. It's fine. We've had a lot of imaginary films this year. It's time to give Figment a movie at Disney. It's time for a journey into imagination film. Let's make it happen. We've tested the waters with all these ifs. We've had a Bing Bong. It's time for Figment to get a theatrical feature based around his journey into imagination. So I'm gonna give If, which doesn't have a narrator listed to it. It's just so frustrating. I mean, all the way to the end because of there's a Louis Gossett Jr. By the way, if you're wondering, if you get really excited like me and you're like, oh my God, is there a scene at the end of the movie? It's a tribute to Louis Gossett Jr. You can stay for it. I'm not saying don't stay for it. If you want to stay for like a, in memoriam thing for Louis Gossett Jr. that lasts all of 5 seconds, be my guest. But that is why Paramount Plus has the film so it doesn't trigger to immediately feed into something else, is because it has this little tag at the end. But then there's still no like audio description by blank. And I recognize this voice and it's pissing me off because I can't figure out who it is. And I love the voice and I thought the narration was excellent. So um I don't know who to praise. Whoever you are, whatever company you're from, I recognize your voice. I can't place a name to it, but I know I've heard you like 1,000 times. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'm going to give If a B minus. Most of, honestly, most of that is really just, well, not most of it. Some of it is just John Krasinski's performance. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.